guys, how's it going? Guardians, Ghosts, and Gamers. This is Taco, your artist poet on PlayStation 4. Back in Destiny again with another getting good in Destiny kind of perspective. I guess that's what they really are. These are more like perspectives on these concepts. A lot of video content creators out there, influencers, community drivers, whatever you want to call them, they like to they'd like to present themselves as having the solution to your question. Uh, I don't like to see the world in terms of problems and answers. Well, problems and solutions. It's more questions than answers. Like, the problem of what is 3x plus 1 if even versus, times 2 if odd. Um, that's not really a problem. That's a question. You're asking a question. What is the answer? So, like I said, a lot of these content creators, YouTube guys, and Twitch streamers, they have advice, they have data, they have examples, but they don't really get into the philosophy behind what they're trying to do. And I think it's because I don't think very many of them are actual artists or poets, songwriters, performers of any kind. They're sportsmen, sports people. Let's be inclusive here, of course. They're sports people. They're task-driven, problem solvers. And sometimes
Your
there
return
is no
honors me,
solution.
Guardian.
Sometimes there is no answer. Sometimes you don't really have a way out of it. If you are just terrible at sniping, you're probably just really bad at sniping. It might be beyond the capabilities of
Eververse
your
deals
skills, your
in
talents,
all
your
manner of
knowledge, your,
goods.
whatever you want to call it. It might just not be something that you feel motivated to get good at. A lot of times when we struggle with things, it's because we're not committed to actually fulfilling that desire. We have it as a target, we have it as a goal, but the truth is that most times you're really not too focused on that item. You don't really want to get good at sniping, and for whatever reasons there might be. Maybe it might be that in your perspective, in your lens, you see sniping as a cheesy way to play the game. I kind of feel that's my case. Like I said, these are perspectives on these concepts that I'm presenting here. Um, I think sniping is something that should be done in a PvE environment. I don't think it should be in a PvP environment. Not on the maps that we have. I think
Hey.
snipers should be heavy weapons. I
What do
mean,
you need?
I play a lot of tabletop skirmish games. I play a lot of I played a lot of military role playing games, and the rules were written by
Careful
people
out
who
there.
had no experience whatsoever with military hardware or
Careful
combat
out there.
situations. And a lot of rules that I've encountered have been written by actual hardened 20-year veterans who decided to go ahead and be part of the process to create this experience. And a lot of it comes down to historical miniature gaming, and some of it's actually even as wacky and over the top as Warhammer 40,000 is. But in every single game that I've ever played that involves a sniper rifle, they're always classified as a heavy weapon. Um, they are affected by things like movement. They're not as effective in close ranges or mid ranges or even in long ranges. Snipers are an extended range weapon. They're really, if you can break it down to the most simplistic view, a sniper is basically a very, very light artillery piece. Uh, I know that a lot of people now there are some exceptions, of course. You have a rifle like the No Land Beyond, which was a Destiny 1 gun, and I've always wanted. I don't think it's actually come back to Destiny 2 yet, has it? It was an exotic in Destiny 1. Maybe someday they'll make this go faster. It was a primary too, a kinetic. Um, yeah, they don't have it here. But what I'm saying is that snipers, like the
Sorry, making
Darcy,
progress.
you know, it is where it's supposed to be. It's a heavy sniper weapon. The Whisper of the Worm is supposed to be, it's a heavy weapon here. But then you've got, other weapons that are snipers that are not,
Excuse me,
heavy
Guardian.
weapons, like a lot of the legendaries. I don't know if we have a kinetic sniper yet. I think we do. But this is the point that in my head, logically, my sense of logic and immersion is such that, I mean, I know we're guardians and we're supposed to be, super beings and all that fun stuff. But if I'm supposed to be that deadly accurate with a sniper in close to mid ranges,
Please,
then
watch your
what's the
step.
problem with auto rifles, submachine guns? You see what I'm saying here? There's a disparity there. I've always felt that sniper rifles should always be in the heavy slot. I think they
A
should
clean
be
floor is
limited
a happy floor.
not just as a
A
special
happy
ammo
floor is a
limitation,
clean floor.
but I think they should be relegated to a heavy ammo pickup, only heavy ammo pickup, and not like a random brick on the ground. Um, and I think that's, I think um, a lot of the block in my brain that prevents me from wanting to actually get good with snipers, at least in the PvP sense, is probably is more or less, down to that particular idea. It's down to the fact that I don't think that snipers should be, something that you take into arenas. I mean, let's take a look here. Just to give an idea. Let's try to think of one of the largest maps that we can think of. We have Altar of Flame, which is pretty big. The anomaly is really small. That's a really close map. I am amazed at the people who. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not something that anybody should do. I'm saying that me personally, I don't get into the sniping thing because it's unrealistic in my view. I mean, there's. Yeah, I know that's like arguing over block physics in Minecraft, really. But still, Bannerfall, there's a lot of breakage there, but there's some really deep alleys in that area. The Burnout, also really, kind of cloistered. Cauldron's got a long alley on the outside, but the inside is all broken. Convergence, another long
She can
outside
take care
alley.
of herself.
A lot of these maps are pretty darn good. Dead
I
cliffs, a
need
lot of
you, son.
breakage. Here we go. Distant shore, long alleys, and yeah, this is a map. This is a sniper map. Okay, you've got 3 points that you're supposed to be able to
All
set
data
up
has a
in,
lineage, no matter how
that
ancient or
provides you a
corrupted.
long alley
It will
that actually
always trace it
overlooks a lot of
back.
the common spawns. I see, this. You roll this map. Yeah, this is a good map for sniping. Uh, Endless Vale, not so much. I mean, there's like one really big long alley across B. Exit is blue. I see a lot of sniping in here, but it's a lot of quick scoping, and I know that quick scoping is a skill that you can do.
When news here,
Um,
it's a cover for the war cult.
I just don't have the I don't have the reaction time for it, honestly. And that's really another thing too. Is I accept the fact that I don't have the snap reflexes and situational awareness where I can plan up a sniper shot. I know that's going to be something that most people can do, but it's not something I can do.
Everything
It's kind of the
depends on
reason
the
why I play a
Vanguard.
hunter versus a warlock and a titan. I know. I tease that I play a hunter because I like playing on hard mode. Uh, and I tease that I say that Titans are easy mode and that Warlocks are normal mode. But really, what it comes down to is that I like the way the Hunter feels in the play. I like the aesthetic. I like the character types that roll into being a hunter. I like the lore behind the
Ah,
hunter. Um, some of the characters in the game were hunters. Cade, of course, that's everybody's favorite. But even Shuro and all those guys. Um,
everything
And
depends on the
then when I try to
Vanguard.
play a warlock, I always seem to mistime my grenades, my riffs. I mean, everything about the warlock for me just feels like wearing like wearing a really shittily tailored suit. I don't know if anybody out there has actually ever gotten into clothes. You like, you buy a suit of clothes and you're like, this is going to make me feel so awesome because clothes makes the person, and you dress for success and all those other memes. Back in the '90s, I thought like this. Even up towards the early parts of the 2000s, 2010s, and that was a brief 15-year period in my life during the late
You will
'90s
return.
to about the mid 2010s, where I really tried to do the whole thing. You know, I was working a light professional job, um, and and I was representing another company because I was a contractor, and so I was really conscious about my appearance. Now I wasn't, you know, buff or cut or trimmed or fit even. I was pretty overweight. I had a decently sized belly by that time,
Now, where did I
um,
put that
which has
blasted
since grown.
dematerialization lens filter?
I'm a fluffy guy right now. But you know, and there were times where, you know, I'd go to and get a new, you know, a new outfit, for lack of a better term, uh, and I'd look okay in it, but I would feel confined and constricted, like somebody put the cone of shame on me, you know. And when I play with a warlock, I feel like that. When I play with I mean, I like playing a Titan. I get the Titan. I mained a Titan back in Destiny 1, and all through Destiny 1 even, I tried to play my warlock. I had all three character classes, which is what Bungie really recommends you doing for the full experience of the game. And I just couldn't get into the warlock, you know. So again, this kind of goes back to your playstyles, knowing who you are, objectively seeing what kind of a player, what kind of a gamer you truly are, and embracing those talents and those strengths. And then, you know, and you exploiting your weaknesses to basically confuse or mislead your opponent into a trap. That's kind of how war works. And PvP is basically that. It's man-to-man war. Fortress has a nice big deep alley in the middle of it, and also on the inside, there's actually three really good fire lanes in here that are actually wait one, two, three, four. There's actually four really good fire lanes in here. Fragment is kind of weird. You need some elevation in order to get the fire lanes, which of course exposes you to way more counterattacks. If I was going to pick the one map that would be, oh, there's more here too. Javelin's got that one outside deep lane, and then there's a couple of inside short lanes. Midtown's got at least one, two, three really deep lanes. Pacifica's got two of them, maybe three if you count over B. Radiant Glyphs, that's got a lot of deep ones out there. There's one down the lane that we're looking at right now. That's the fire lane, and then the outside also, and then you've got one that bisects where C is, and then you've got one that crosses A. So there's four lanes in there. Two of them are optimal, from A to facing C, and then from this spawn point facing towards A. Inside's not really good for sniping unless you're a quick scoper. You know, if you're around, if you can swing the corner and basically use your sniper rifle like a shotgun. This is what No Land Beyond basically was. There are certain snipers back in Destiny 1 that had so much stability, and the flinch was always there, but it wasn't as pronounced. People were using snipers as shotguns. They were sliding in and pulling out their sniper because the impact, you know, because they're sniper rifles. Uh, Rusted Lands has got like, oh, at least two really legit lanes. One overlooks spawn, which I think is bad. I don't think a sniper lane should ever overlook um, spawn points, and this one does. You know, it's actually one of the older D1 maps, and the spawn points have never changed. Twilight Gap, there's a good one. Here, this one's got one really super chunky lane that people traffic all the time. That's the outside crossing over B's entrance. Let's see, Widow's Court. This one's got a lot. This one's got a lot of good sniper lanes. There's one coming from A to spawn. There's one that goes from outside, where we're looking at it right now, the courtyard area. Um, and then there's another one that goes from between the church and the parking garage up towards B and back, of course. And then there's one that kind of requires a little bit of elevation, which goes from back spawn all the way up towards B. And then Wormhaven, this is the fire lane we're looking at right here. There's another one that's just in the inside, and that's really it. There's only really two really good fire lanes, which when I'm talking about here, you know, conceptually speaking, in the whole sniping thing, this is also a good way. They're not only good sniper lanes, but they're also good lanes to pick up kills as it is. They're pretty high trafficked, so I would have to say that of the least balanced, Midtown Midtown is okay. It's only got that one really big one. Pacifica's okay. Radiant Cliffs is, I mean, pretty much everywhere is a hot zone. I don't say. I would say that Rusted Lands overlooking Spawn's way too congested. Twilight Gap is pretty decent. I think Twilight Gap is probably one of the best maps out there. I know some people will say differently because that's all their perspective. But I like this one because it's got a lot of breakup. It's got a lot of line of sight blocking in it. That's what you're kind of looking for. Fragment is also a good one for that. Fortress, you got to be careful. There's a lot of ways that you can get clipped here. Exodus Blue is really frenetic. This map is all shotguns and hand cannons. Honestly, really it is. So you know, like I said, mechanically speaking, you can be fully aware of what you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to be managing it. But when you get into the physicality of it, when you get into the mentality of it, um, finding that that game space, which is a combination, of course, of your thumb skills and your psychology, you're going to find that there might be some things in there that are holding you back. Maybe it's a lack of confidence in your shot. Maybe it's situational awareness. Maybe you're playing with your volume too low. That's why you see a lot of these Twitch guys. They're on headset, and they're listening. They're listening for someone reloading. They're listening for a person jumping. They're listening for a person sliding. Yes, a person sliding actually makes a sound. I don't play with audio very much. One, because there's a lot of ambient noise where I play. Not right now because it's way early in the morning and I'm the only one up. And two is because a lot of times I have to be engaged in other things. I mean, I play this game quite honestly while I wait for paint and glue to dry up and set. Um, and like I said, right now I'm only on this doing right now because I'm waiting for a layer of paint to dry up before I go back in with the airbrush and get the next film. So, yeah, sometimes there's no answer. Sometimes there's no solution. Sometimes the problem is just not something you're meant to solve. And as gamers, we get very precious about our ability to solve problems. Problem solving is factor one in just about every game space. Um, and I'm not just talking to video games. It's also part and parcel of board games and card games and dice games, and everyone wants to have a system. And that's the thing. That's a gambling term. And when our system fails, when our solution isn't right, humans have a knee-jerk reaction to immediately get salty about it. They feel the need, excuse me, grammar is important here. They feel the need to defend their choices because nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants to be wrong. And when you have a person who salts out and rage quits in a game, that's because they cannot cope with the idea that sometimes they're just not going to be right. They're not going to have that answer. They're going to be wrong. They're going to lose. If you can mature your game space, meaning that head kind of that mentality part of yourself, the emotional part of yourself, if you can mature that particular facet, I apologize for the snuffles, you will find a large number of options present themselves. If you can accept that sometimes you're not going to have the answer, you then open yourself up to the possibilities of other answers. Because, you don't need to always be right. And even in a fire team, if you're playing, in PvP, there's maybe you don't have the same, and you need to be aware of the answer, and then, them to commit to that answer. And this is why, when I say, learning to play the game without a teammate, without actually hiring to play the game as random, this is helping you understand and recognize when somebody's got and then or allowing them to fulfill that answer. Allowing them to, because that's the problem, is that a lot of times you think you've got the solution, but you don't. Then you see somebody else have a solution, and you try to emulate it. But in trying to emulate that solution, you're prohibiting them from fulfilling that solution, and then nobody wins. Nobody has an answer. Everybody has lost. So it's not about taking yourself out of the equation, but applying your variable in such a way that it helps the situation. Go into Mind Well, I haven't played that. Arena games are that. And where's that shot? That's because I pulled my trigger at the wrong time. Yep, there we go. See, unconscious. I should probably not be running with dual energy weapons. Even though this is technically in the kinetic slot, it still runs off of energy. I haven't played with one of these in a while. Let's try this out. Still don't have any ammo. I wonder if I'll get ammo if I do this. Let's get off the shotguns altogether. See, I have a sniper rifle here. So I could do that. Wow. Let's do this then. Anyway, so that's kind of like the last little bit of perspective that I want to put out there is, again, there's so many guys out there, so many girls out there that are like, they've got the solution for you. They got your answers for you. That's their job. They're paid. They're being paid to do that. And it's important to realize that if it's not your style, don't try to make it be your style. Be who you are. Be the strongest you can be. There we go. That's really the key. To get good at Destiny or anything else that you do is be the strongest you that you can be. And really that's kind of the way you can measure that is by how many people you make happy doing what you're doing. Because that is the ultimate goal, I think. It should be most people's goals, at least. But, don't be selfish. Be generous, be patient, be considerate, and just be you, be happy. And that's about all I got to share, so thanks for stopping by.